I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, and I grew up with my 3 brothers and my mom and my dad. I remember Rhode Island was very small, so everyone kind of knew each other in Providence. We all played together on the streets. We all knew each other, so it was really a small place to grow up, which was really nice. Very homey, kind of like each, other parents looking out for other kids. It was really nice. I attended the elementary school down the street from my house, attended a middle school not too far from my house, a high school not too far from my house, and then college actually not too far from my house. We grew up with my parents always kind of working, so it was my older brother that really was always babysitting us and helping us. So we were always under his wing more or less, and my parents always working. I do remember my dad being really not home very much at all because he was always constantly working. He worked at a factory for several years until he saved enough to open up his own business and had more time to come home. I was in Rhode Island for a very long time. I did my undergrad there at Rhode Island College. I loved it. My brothers and I were all very active in the community. We did a lot of sports. So every day after school, we went to sports or activities and then didn't really get home until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. But we were always involved in the community stuff that we had to do, and we loved it. So through that experience, I ended up working very closely with a philanthropist by the name of Alan Sean Feinstein. He really taught me the meaning of giving back and doing things for the community, but he kind of took me under his wing throughout my high school career, I would say, and taught me a lot about giving back, like I said, but also had me participate in his nonprofits with the Feinstein Foundation and learn a lot there. Then I ended up becoming a Feinstein Scholar, and with that scholarship provided me to attend Rhode Island College. So it was down the street from my house, but I still had the whole college experience. I went to college there for the 4 years and graduated from Rhode Island College with my undergrad, and then decided that I wanted to do something different. So I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice because I wanted to get into working with the government on the federal level. And one of the opportunities was to work with immigration. So I did my first internship actually in New York City. So before I came to Florida, I was in New York City for, gosh, I don't know exactly how long, but it was for a little while. I did my internship there while I attended John Jay for my graduate program. While I did that as well, I started applying to work for immigration permanently because I really loved it. And so I ended up passing the exams and getting in. It took a couple of years for the background checks and all those things they have to do. But then I finally got in, and one of the placements, because they ask you what state would you prefer, doesn't mean that they're going to give it to you, but one of the places was Florida, was because my mom had always told me she wanted to retire in Florida. I actually bought a house in Kissimmee because I was hoping they would place me in Kissimmee, but they placed me in Miami. So I had a house in Kissimmee while I had an apartment in Miami. So I was back and forth. My husband living in Kissimmee, me living in Miami Springs. Decided to leave the service and said, let me open up my own business. And so we started buying and selling property, but then we bought the Sevilla Inn. It was hopefully what we wanted to do as a family is just flip it and fix it, flip it, then turn it around and sell it. But unfortunately, it didn't work out like that because, as we all know, the market crashed. And when that happened, we got stuck with the business. And so I had to learn how to run it, and there every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, had to learn the business and do it. So it was funny because while I was pregnant, I lived in the hotel to learn how to run it. So you never know where you're gonna end up, right? So it kind of brought me to the love of hospitality and tourism, and I learned so much. I got very involved in the community. So then after that, I decided to help other small hotels do what I did so that they can also succeed. Well, my husband name is Sayur, and he is born in Pakistan, more or less raised in New York City. He came as a kid when he was, I believe, 9. And then never went back until I asked him to go back so that I can go see what the country's about in the culture just 2 years ago. So his parents came legally, so did mine. My parents came, my mom from Colombia, through her dad with a working visa because they were looking for lots of factory workers back then with yarn and things like that. So my grandfather did that, and my dad came as well because they were looking for workers. So he came, and so they met here in the US and got married. My husband's mom and dad, kind of the same thing. His dad's family came for work purposes and ended up staying. legally, and they did the paperwork how they had to do it. And then he had the opportunity then to come to the United States and live here permanently. So he had a much better life. And he sees the huge differences, obviously, between his country and the United States. And so he's seen a lot of things also, you know, differences in cultures in New York City. Because they, you know, sometimes they all have the little clusters of where the countries are. So, yeah. So we have a very diverse marriage. People sometimes say, "Wow, your husband's from Pakistan." I say, "Yeah," you know. And I'm Latina, so my daughter is really, really mixed. She's fluent in Spanish and in English. Speaks a little bit of words from her dad's languages that he's teaching her. She understands also a lot of things that sometimes other kids don't understand or may not know because they don't grow up in the culture. But knowing the differences of where the countries are on the map and what they mean, the language differences, their food. Like in my house, sometimes I'll cook, but my husband wants to cook his food. So we'll both cook our foods and then we'll eat, but we'll be eating different things. So it's not always, or we'll like mix our foods. So that's another thing. She'll, you know, so that's kind of cool and exciting. She'll taste different spices and foods, and that's an experience, you know, that normally not all the kids get. So she does that. So it's exciting for us. And also we're different religions. He's Muslim, I'm Catholic. So that's a whole other, you know, a total different dynamic in our family. Luckily, there's no issues with it. You know, both of us just learn to live that we both love God. It doesn't matter what religion we're in, and we love each other. So that means we could be together. It doesn't matter. So that's good. And it's showing my daughter that it doesn't matter what religion a person is or what countries they come from. They could still get along and live together and be married and love each other, you know.